Hi guys, Harbs here. Today we're going to be analysing Mindbreaker issue 2. If you haven't seen my analysis of the first issue, then I've linked it down below. These comics and the ones that preceded it, especially Infernal Tides, have been confirmed as canon, and Mindbreaker and Infernal Tides are prequels to Baldur's Gate 3. Therefore, it's important that we try to glean as much information as possible from them, if we want to understand the broader context of the game. Obviously, a lot of this comes down to just filling in the gaps, so many of my theories, and I mean many of them, may be completely wrong. Okay, let's go. So the comic starts off directly where the first issue left off, within a grand library called the Knowledge Hold. This is where Minsc and the gang interrupt a sinister cult, performing a sacrificial ritual with a dagger that looks Illithid-esque in nature. This is of course the Cult of the Absolute, and in the first panel of issue 2 we can see another reference to them: slay the unclean in the name of the Absolute. The title of this issue is A Growing Threat, and this is likely important. This is something we can already see happening in Baldur's Gate 3. The Absolute is expanding and its ambitions are high. We can see this in what the Absolute is already doing in-game with their infiltration of Drow and Goblin society, and in who they take and designate to be true souls, with Ulder Ravengard likely being one of the more high-profile ones that is destined for true soul status. However, we'll come back to the true soul stuff later. The Absolute's ambition and its growing threat has already been written about in Larian's own press releases, when they said, amid all of this chaos, a new cult is on the rise, the Cult of the Absolute. Seeking to overthrow the old order, its shadowy network is chipping away at the Forgotten Realms' foundations. Baldur's Gate will be the first to fall, and in certain DATAMINED lines we can see the threat that the Absolute might pose to other worlds. The introduction to issue 2 goes as follows. Divine magic is power imparted by a god upon one of their worshippers, a reward for prayer and good service in the deity's name. But there are other paths to power as well, dark pacts with strange beings whose magic and influence rivals the glory of the divine, even if they're not called gods by those who define such things. Woe to any who fall under their sway or drink from their corruption. This could be referencing a number of things, but on my Discord server we discussed several theories. Something which isn't defined as a god but rivals the glory of their divine power could be an elder evil, but then again it uses a plural form and talks of dark pacts with strange beings, which could also be the Dead Three. They are now defined as quasi-divine beings in 5th edition, but after the Second Sundering, as most gods withdrew their influence from Toril, the Dead Three remained, and therefore their power on the level of being able to influence the lives of mortals may rival the actual gods. This would also make sense with all of the Dead Three related stuff in the game that we can already see. Alternatively, we have already heard Gale say this.
A Mind Flayer monarch? Imagine that. Such a thing could shatter worlds.
Now, Illithids are not associated with divine magic, given their lack of interest in the gods, and the fact that the description says strange things. Could it be that it is the Dead Three who have made a deal with a powerful conclave of Mind Flayers in order to achieve more power? Is there a Mind Flayer empire and a monarch which leads them, waiting to unleash itself upon Faerun? So the protagonists begin fighting the cult in order to close a portal that was summoned as a result of the sacrifice with the Illithid-style dagger, and like Draw-Ragslin, Priestess Gut, Minthara and other true souls, there seems to be a complete denial that mind control is anything to do with the Cult of the Absolute. This is visible when Neris says, "Don't kill anyone, I think they're being mind controlled," to which Father Albi, who appears to be the leader of this cell of cultists, responds by saying, "Controlled, you know nothing, our minds and hearts have been unshackled in ways you cannot comprehend." The fighting continues and Father Albi is pushed as to why he is doing this, and he responds by saying that he has been awakened. He then says, "Master Udron has seen the future, Neris. The Absolute will remake the world." This again references Larian's own press release, seeking to overthrow the old order. After some more fighting, Delina manages to destroy the portal, and Father Albi refers to this as a conduit, which means that they were likely going to use this to communicate with something on the other side. As they are in the knowledge hold, a library full of valuable knowledge, it might be safe to assume that this is what they wanted to share, especially since they are in the rare book wing, and in the first comic we can see in one of their Latin chants, they say, "We will make a power to share." We can also see lines in the game about gathering knowledge. "I'm not interested in gold, I am interested in knowledge. In return, I will give you power. I am collecting, well, knowledge. In return, I will give you power." Once the portal or conduit closes, the City Watch storm the building. Minsc and his crew escape after Father Albi, obviously still thought of as a respected priest of Kalemvor within the city, accuses them of murdering the head librarian. Back at base, they discuss what to do about the cult and decide that they need to split up in order to find more information on who the cult and Master Udron are. Interestingly, Krydl mentions the Council of 6 here, which is slightly unusual as there is usually a Council of 4 in Baldur's Gate, so perhaps the political landscape has changed somewhat after the events of Descent into Avernus, when Ravengard went to Elturel and Thalamra Van Tampa was potentially exposed as a devil worshipper. We can see in these lines from Baldur's Gate 3 how volatile the potential situation within Baldur's Gate will be when we reach the city. Clearly, there is still some doubt around the cult itself. I don't know about the cult, but Blackhand is agitating the city. He wants blood. It is not good for business. If Blackhand is elected, things are going to be bad. Boring speech about why I, Lord Leo something, is better suited than Blackhand to become Duke. The cult of the Absolute is obviously a hoax from Blackhand used to gain political power. Blackhand is the owner of Sorcerous Sundries. Anyway, Nerys, Minsc and Shandy head through the sewers to find someone called the Fetcher, who we also got to come across in Legend of Baldur's Gate issue 2 and Evil at Baldur's Gate also issue 2. The Fetcher is a guild kingpin and so high up in the organised criminal network of Baldur's Gate. His office is in the Undercellar, an area that you would have come across if you played the original Baldur's Gate game. Once Shandy finds the Fetcher's lair within the sewers, he is reluctant to let them in due to paranoia about the cult, but Boo, Minsc's hamster, manages to sneak under the door and let them in anyway. Shandy immediately starts to threaten the Fetcher and ask questions about the cult, but the Fetcher simply says, "I probably know as much as you do. Their agents seem to emerge from nowhere. I don't know who they are or what they want." In response to this, a mysterious voice says, "If you wanted to be enlightened to our purpose, all you had to do was ask. What we want is everything." What you can see here is a Mind Witness, which is a beholder that has been implanted by an illithid tadpole. It's important to note that the Mind Witness here said enlightened, remember that for later. When it says that they want everything, this again could be a reference to the sheer amount of organisations and places that the Absolute wishes to infiltrate. Remember that Baldur's Gate will only be the first to fall. Meanwhile, Delina and Krydl are on their way to infiltrate the High Hall, where they wish to warn Corran, a city betrayer, about the cult, who in turn could warn the Grand Duke. Corran is Krydl's father, but Delina is unaware of this. There is also a small reference to Krydl's pact with Bel that he made in Infernal Tides, but the details of which are still a secret. They sneak into the High Hall using an invisibility spell and eventually find Corran, but the cult also find him at the same time. One of the cultists shouts, "Your time has come," however notice that all of them are carrying bats, which differs to the cultists that confronted Minsc, Nerys and Shandy, who were carrying lethal weapons. This makes me believe that these cultists here were actually planning to kidnap Corran. The cultists have used the same invisibility trick to enter the High Hall, which I suppose highlights a serious security flaw in one of the supposedly most secure buildings in the city. But anyway, Krydl and Delina manage to successfully defend Corran from the cultists until they hear a voice that says, "I gave you a simple target while I carried out other preparations. Apparently it was too much for you, so now I must do this myself." Krydl and Delina become incapacitated and the voice continues with, well, if it isn't two of the thieves who disrupted my plans last night." The final panel reveals an illithid standing over the bodies of Corran, Krydl and Delina, a displacer beast crouching at its side. Clearly this is the pet of the Mind Flayer and the one which ambushed the gang in the first issue. The Mind Flayer then says, "This pair has proven to be quite resourceful. Now their skills shall serve the Absolute. prepare them for enlightenment. I would imagine that prepare them for enlightenment potentially means true soul status, and this kind of further reinforces that the companions in Baldur's Gate 3 were designated to be true souls because of something unique that they could offer the cult. We also have a line that was removed as of patch 6 that says, "I'm not sure it was the right call, but I must just not be enlightened enough." Is this a potential reference as to how favoured some true souls feel that they might be within the cult? The next issue has two sets of cover art so far, one being a reference to Minsc potentially being mind controlled, and the other being Delina in a place that could be a reference to the Red Knight, Lady of Strategy. Please head over to the Discord if you'd like to know more on how she could fit into Baldur's Gate 3. Thank you to Priest for that theory. If you don't fancy Discord, then please follow me on Twitter. I've left both of these linked down below. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, then do please give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!